Good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's your buddy Chop It On coming at you with another episode of Chop Talk, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. Of course, I'm going to tell you, head to the comments section, click the link, become a VIP today, get the content, tools, and coaching that are going to make you a better player every single day, every single sport that we cover. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, trigger that 10% off discount. What we're going to do today is we're going to dive in with the trifecta. So I'm going to talk fast. You need a pen, you need paper. I'm going to give you NHL, NBA, NFL box checkers, and then I'm going to give you a little tip at the end to get your damn mind right, because I see too much bitching and moaning about why am I not winning. Let me tell you why at the end of the video. So let's dive in and let's do a little bit of NHL. We'll call this buyers and sellers. 3-game slate today. Really and truly, I can cut all your research out in 2 seconds. My St. Louis Blues are in absolute shambles. Stack Edmonton. Chicago Blackhawks absolutely suck this year. Stack Anaheim. You're welcome. Move on. On a 3-game slate, there's going to be plenty of people that do this sort of correctly. And because there are limited options, they're going to wind up being right. If it was a bigger slate, they'd have more opportunity to fuck up and make bad mistakes. But the odds on the odds are with these two teams playing poor defense, giving up goals, and allowing the other team to score. And Edmonton is okay. Anaheim is certainly not an attractive offense most times. But tonight they're in a great spot. On an 8-game slate, I'd be saying the same thing. Let's go through and let's find a few buyers and sellers. Let me show you how to do this so that when you become a VIP, you can dig in here and you can do this for yourself, because I'm very much a teach a man to fish kind of guy. I'll show you a little bit, but my systems are very, very repeatable. And they're designed to make you efficient researchers. They're designed to and then you can come in, you can discuss with me what is my systems change. I enjoy teaching different techniques, different ways to skin a cat. You can always come into the Army and ask me, yo Chop, what are you working on right now? Yo Chop, is this a good idea? Hey, have your thoughts changed? Whatever. That's what we talk about inside DFS Army, and that's what makes us very, very good players ahead of the curve, very, very competitive players, and makes you a better player along the way. Just hit your train to ours. Let's chug on down the road. Line combos, I don't need to really dig into most likely. I'll probably go goalies. Very, very simple. 55% chance to win. That's McElhinney in Carolina versus San Jose. If I'm targeting Anaheim and Edmonton, I'm not going to be in that Carolina-San Jose game really anyway. So taking a goalie out of that's just fine. 55% is not much of a chance to win, but it's the best the slate offers, and at a fairly affordable price, $7,700. I have no issues running him out there as my main goalie tonight. If I had to pick another one, this is what I typically do. I take one main guy, and I'm going to throw him in 75% of my lineups or so, maybe 100%, depending on how many lineups I put out there. And then I'm going to come back with a hedge goalie that's also in a good spot. But I'm not taking 5 different goalies and whatever else. I want to hit the goalie in the best spot, and when that works out that night, put every single lineup of mine in position to where now all I need is combinations of skaters to work out. If I had to pick another one, I'd probably pick John Gibson. You know, again, 53% is not much of a chance to win, but he's projected high points-wise, and his value, you're going to pay up a little bit for goal. You get a little bit more consistent guy. You've got Anaheim at home where they tend to suppress shots. Chicago's offense is not intimidating at all. Okay, at least not right now. Now, a couple years ago, sure. I don't want to insult any Blackhawks. Actually, I'm a Blue. I don't mind insulting Blackhawks fans. But honestly, this year, both teams are sort of train wrecks. I can't wait for them to play each other. I wish they'd go back to the 80s where they just would say, fuck it, we're terrible. Throw your sticks and your hats on the ice and let's just have a bench clearing brawl for the fans. That would be awesome. But they don't do that anymore because the NHL's ruled that out, and I'm going to get off on a tangent if I keep talking about that stuff. So let's move on. Let's rock and roll towards buyers and sellers. I probably don't even need to combine this right now. I'm not going to say St. Louis is out of play as far as skaters are concerned or Chicago's out of play. What I'm going to say is you should probably focus on Anaheim and Edmonton. If we just use these 6 teams and we scroll over here, first thing, let's bring the big percentage of scoring up to the top. These are going to be guys that typically, if the night is going to go well, these are guys that are going to be involved. McDavid, Draisaitl, Aho, Kane, O'Reilly, Burns, Nugent Hopkins, Getzlaff. These are, I don't really go below about 33%. I don't need to. I mean, yeah, you get down in here. Yes, these are still big chunks of the scoring, but look at Connor McDavid. 50 freaking percent of the points, the fantasy points or the scoring that happens on Edmonton goes through him in some fashion. That's a dude you need. And on a night like tonight, that's good chalk. Go ahead and eat it up. Unless I scroll over and find his L5 way below his L10. Then I might contemplate kind of what to do. But if somebody's going to blow up tonight, these two are your highest likelihood. I mean, you might just run those two out there and then get out of that game and go find value elsewhere. And of course, in tournaments, you're always thinking about stacking against the chalk. If it looks that obvious, a lot of people will see it. You might stack against it. You might fade that and go a different direction. Scrolling over last 10 games. Sort by descending. Fanduel average. You can do DraftKings the same way. I just play Fanduel. So now what I'm looking for is guys that are above. Okay, so Pavelski, he's right on his average. He's not really a buy. He's not really a sell. He's just kind of right there. He'd be like a gender neutral, if you will. 15 points. Look, I offend everybody. I don't mean any personal offense to any of this stuff. I just say shit, and it just comes out of my mouth. And I'm never going to run for president, so I don't really, well, I guess I could run for president these days. See, I offended Donald Trump and the Republicans too. I don't give a shit when it comes right down to it. I'm just going to tell you what's on my mind, and I'm doing it for a laugh to make you chuckle, maybe snort your coffee a little bit. I'm not doing it because I really mean anything that I say. I don't really mean anything I say anyway. Other than play Pavelski, maybe look at playing Connor McDavid. 15 points out of 17. So he's a little bit cold, but it's not like a clear sell signal. This is one of those nights I might buck that trend. I might be using him anyway. Draisaitl's running low. That one is a pretty clear sell. If it's going to happen, I mean, I jinxed last night. I said sell Atkinson. Dude went off for a hattie. I mean, it's hockey. It's volatile. Shit happens. I said that with Malkin. I said he can go off at any given time. It's just we're banking on the fact it won't be tonight. Well, it was last night. Oh well, moving on. 23 out of 16's buy signal on Clefboom. And Clefboom gets you access to both Draisaitl and McDavid when they're not on the same line. 8.7. That's a sell on Carlson. It's a little bit of a buy on Burns. I'd like to see them in the stronger spot like Chicago and St. Louis, or Chicago and Edmonton and Anaheim tonight. 14.7 is about the same for Getzlaff, although Anaheim's in a good spot. He's going to be involved in the scoring typically, not a real clear buy signal or sell on Couture. Looks like a decent buy on Tarasenko. Sort of a buy on Timo Meier. Petrangelo's hit injured reserve. He needs to go. 7.8 on Aho out of a normal 12.7. Pretty clear sell, even though he carries most of his team's points. And when he's not going well, it tells you that Carolina's going to struggle to score because he's such a big part of it most of the time. But you see what I'm doing here? I'm just going down the list. Now, if I wanted to just pick on the two teams that I was going to look at tonight, I'll click on Edmonton, I'll click on Anaheim, and then we'll tear on out of here. And we'll go hit NBA, because that won't take very long either. And then we'll go box checking, and then I'll throw you that tip. But while we're waiting for stuff to load up, contemplate becoming a VIP inside DFS Army. I just got a little birdie today, flew on my shoulder. Since there's daytime availability now, I'm going to team up and probably start doing, if we can finalize the contract details, he needs to call my agent. But we're going to probably team up, me and Football Geek are probably going to team up and do the Vegas Lines early week podcast again. Just so I give him a sounding board, somebody to kind of keep the games rolling, set the games up so he can mostly not be worried about shuffling papers around and stuff and just give you guys all of the information that he needs. It's one of our better podcasts, especially for early week NFL. We'll probably finish off the season together doing that now that our schedules have coincided and we can do a little bit of tag teaming or whatnot at the same time of day, whereas we kind of fell away from that before. Anyway, tune into that. I'll probably throw that in the DFS diary, which, again, sidebar, I'll get to that commercial in a little bit. 5 games are a little bit higher. We're still up here. Look, there's not a lot to love in these two teams apparently right now. But So that changes things up a little bit. I don't know that I would take Draisaitl. I probably would just based on how much of the scoring he does. I would definitely be all over Clefbaum tonight. He'd be kind of an all-in for me as a big buy signal in a great spot. Mediocre spot for Nugent Hopkins. Chaseon's cheap, running right about his numbers. That'd be okay. Look at how cold the rest of these guys are. Wow. Sakara is a little bit of a buy, but Sakara's not a great player anyway, as evidenced by his low fantasy points per 10 games. This is interesting tonight. It's going to be. This is telling me it's going to be a little more of a wide open crapshoot because there are no real dominant buy signals, no real dominant things to play, and people are going to mix it up a little bit and get off of those teams. But I'm telling you, the defense and the shambles that Chicago and St. Louis are in right now, you really need to consider just stacking the two teams that they play on a given night and make that a focal point in what you do. You'll catch some bad flat duds, but you're going to catch some good nights too. Edmonton can score. Anaheim can put up some decent games. So it's not the worst thing in the world. That's where my target would go. I would look in the research station and try to find what I think are the better buy signals in doing so. And I would try to get off of the sell signals. Although on a 3-game slate, nobody's really a sell because like last night, Atkinson comes off with a hat trick or Malkin comes off with a big goal, something like that. Then that can make or break your lineup and make or break your slate on such a small slate of games. So take that with a kind of grain of salt, and we'll move over to NBA and talk a little bit about NBA before we roll into box checkers. The and one, as you guys know, 10-game slate, much bigger here, much more room for error here for lesser experienced players. Therefore, we can lean a little bit more towards cash games. We can lean a little bit more towards 50-50s and triple ups and things like that, and hopefully try and catch our opponents making mistakes on less than ideal plays. The one way that we start things off is we sort by the and one, which is that catch-all rating. I hear the question a lot, how come, how come the and what does the and one rating system contain? And I don't know all of the factors. I just know it's about 20 or 25 factors or more because I've talked to Ben and CG about it. And I don't want to pick their brains. I don't want to really go after top secret. I don't want to know what's in the Big Mac. You know what I mean? I just want to know how to use it. And the catch-all metric tells me that home versus away splits are factored in, 3-game versus 10-game averages, sort of like I'm doing with buyers and sellers, the L10 and L5. That's becoming a thing kind of in the DFS industry. We used L7 WOBA last year in MLB, and it worked out really, really well at tipping off when a team crossed into the buy territory and when the batters were running a little bit hot in streakier sports like NFL, like MLB and NHL, I should say. Those types of things are the indicators that can at least help point things in the right direction. It's still going to fail more times than it's going to win. But if you basically get to the point where you're winning more often and taking better shots, you're going to win more money in the process. That's kind of what we're trying to teach. So that's what this metric is going to do, is indicate who's in a great matchup tonight. And we look down the slate. Granted, it's a big slate, but I got to scroll down pretty far to get below that double digit. Telling me that it's a pretty deep slate. Telling me, I guess talking to Ben yesterday, he shared a lot of graphics with me that were pretty cool to look at, showing me that there are sweet spots in this and one rating system that we're starting to find out as we backtest our numbers. And we believe in the and one metric, and so we're trying to research it even further because we kind of stumbled across it about 3-4 weeks into the season. Not we, I mean they, but I'm actually talking with them and asking them a bunch of questions and picking their brains and finding out a little bit more about how we can use this tool to the better of our ability. And it looks like, generally speaking, anything under like a 5 isn't very usable. Up to an 8 is kind of okay. And we're testing historical value. Where are these players? What are their average salaries in that range? And what are they typically hitting in terms of value? 4.5, 4.7, 5.0x? What are they doing? And what we're finding is your best shot is those over, not even a 10, like I'm telling you, double digits, over an 11. So if you wanted to weed that out to everything over an 11 and just go from there, you're in a pretty good spot. You're going to miss a little bit of this because just like all averages, people outperform and people underperform their averages. But generally speaking, we start getting up into these ranges and we're doing okay. There's a little bit of a dip somewhere between 17 and 20, and then it kind of takes off again and hits value. And over 26 is an actually interesting number because over 26 and over 30 starts going down again back under 5.0x, starts going down to 4.7, 4.6. And generally the reason why is because of consistency numbers we've been talking about the past couple of days. In that the salary gets so damn high, like Giannis and Anthony Davis. When those guys are in a smash spot, like in 18-19, Not maybe so great today for their capabilities. Still a good spot compared to the slate. But when these guys are 26s and 27s, don't necessarily be fooled because their salary limits their ceiling to the point that they just can't go from 75 points to 100 points in a great matchup. They're just kind of capped. They're always going to be good, and they're kind of capped at that level. So 5, 6, 7x is just really not possible at that salary level. So you're going to see more of those 4.5, 4.6x nights as opposed to a 6 or a 7x night when you think, oh my God, smash spot. But that's okay because as we talked about yesterday in the video, if you followed that, it's not really a linear number where 5x across the board is what you're looking for. Those higher salary guys, you can handle 4.5, 4.6, 4.7x because you're buying raw points. It's the lower price guys, the $5,000, $4,000 guys that you need to go off for 6x and 7x to really make your night. They have the room in their salary to do it, but that's who you need to do it to make your night. So you've got to be correct with buying the raw points, but you've also got to be correct in the value plays. That's what makes a truly great lineup, and that's what truly makes a smashing night. That's the kind of stuff we talk about and we teach inside DFSArmy.com. So anywho, where's your and ones? If we go by about, say, the top 5, Wall, Westbrook, Conley, Smith, Curry. That's them for tonight. And we're still above the 11-point barrier, so we're still in pretty good shape. When I scroll down to shooting guards, I'm looking at Beal, DeRozan, Klay Thompson, Drew Holiday, Andrew Wiggins, still well above the 11. If you come down here, that one's not dropping off quite as much as point guard, which tells me shooting guard might be a little deeper tonight, which is odd because it's such a fluky position as it is. And that might be a spot I'm looking to pay down a little bit tonight as opposed to paying all the way up. I'm looking for scarcity to pay up. Again, fairly deep position, but we've seen it over the overall ranking. I just scrolled down so far because tonight overall is a pretty deep night. LeBron, KD, Giannis, Kawhi, Otto Porter. I've already heard buzz about Giannis maybe having a huge, huge night tonight. I'm telling you on the 18.8, I wouldn't necessarily expect it. I wouldn't just go all in on Giannis because some expert in the industry said he's going to have a blow-up night. I would still play responsibly. I would still put him in a few lineups but hedge back and not go all in on him because I'm seeing an indicator right here that tells me maybe not. Okay? Doesn't mean he's going to have a bad night, but it's not in that 22, 23% or 22 or 23 rating smash zone. LeBron's in a better spot than Giannis tonight. LeBron's $2,000 cheaper. Who's going to hit 6x faster? LeBron at 60 or Giannis at what, 72? Obviously LeBron. Your value is going to be here, or Durant, whatever, a little bit more than it is here because the salary is becoming cumbersome. So if you really want to bank on Giannis breaking the slate with 80 some odd points, then you're going to have to pay up to do it, and you're going to have to sacrifice. But that's okay. You could probably bank on that in a lineup or two, but does he really break the slate if he only hits 6.5x? If you got 2 or 3 guys down here that go for 8x, you've just caught up with him and you didn't even use him. So depending on ownership, there are different ways to go, different ways to attack the slate. When these guys are 12, unless they hit 100 points, they really don't break the slate completely where you had to have them in your lineup. They may be in the winning lineup, but that guy made better picks down in here than you did, not necessarily here. Anywho, power forward. Just a lot coming out of my brain that I love telling you guys. I love talking to you guys. If you like this type of information, you've got to go down there and hit the like and subscribe button. You've got to ring the notification bell so when these videos drop, I love screen share. I love talking to you guys. I love the feedback. It helps make me a better coach to the guys inside DFSArmy.com. Power forward, Anthony Davis, LaMarcus Aldridge, back-to-back nights. John Collins, Blake Griffin, Serge Ibaka. These are guys that, again, are well over the 11 barrier. Center spot. Nokum's not going to have an and 1 rating at that price, so we don't need to worry about him. Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, Gasol, Drummond, Jokic. Again, watch for short rest. I've seen a lot of these names recently. So you're going to be, well, there's your rest column right there. Forgot we put that in there. So nobody's really on, I guess, the 0 should be back-to-back nights. The 1 should be at least a day of rest. 2 should be. Now you might want to go back even further and look for indicators like 3 games in 4 nights, or 4 games in 5 nights, or 4 games in 6 nights. Those are the truly brutal stretches that when you're on the back end of those, the beginning maybe not so much, but on the back end of those, that's when you're going to, it seems like, increase your rotation from 6 or 7 men or whatever out to 12 or 13 men. That's when you get those nights. And those nights crush studs because they manage their minutes and they don't get the opportunity to really score unless they have an incredible night. and then all of a sudden all the scrubs from underneath come in and start banking up all the minutes, and they start getting points, and then everybody has kind of a mediocre night on that team instead of anybody having a really truly useful fantasy night in a lot of cases. Now again, if I'm talking out my ass, go talk to the coaches inside DFS Army and ask them for clarification. I don't follow NBA as closely as I follow the other sports. I know the basics. I know how to get you from I truly suck to I'm okay. That if you want to get from I'm okay to truly good, you need the coaching and the experts inside the Army, okay? That's roughly what we would do for your and one player pool, those 5 guys. If you want, you can sort salary by $6,000 or below, or you can come over here, sort value by descending. And that's going to bring a lot of cheap punks to the top, which is then going to show me 6x, 5.5, anything over 5x I really enjoy seeing. I would write most of these guys down. Look at how deep that list gets tonight. Way down here. But I'm really looking for people that are over about 20 points. Let's call it about 22. Scoring in the league is up, generally speaking, over the past few years. So maybe the old arbitrary 20 needs to be raised a little bit. Raised, risen, I don't know, my grammar fails as I get older. And as my filter breaks and I give less of a shit about the way I speak. 22, 24, 26, this is about right. We're sorted still by the 5s. So now we at least shorten the list a little bit. Bledsoe, Bazemore, Embiid at 5 is great. Sexton, Westbrook at 5 is great. Jokic, Karl-Anthony Towns also great. Frazier, Wall, Fournier, back-to-back nights. That better be a 0. Used him last night, disappointed me a little bit. He was in a great spot, didn't perform as well. Randall, Ibaka, Hood, Moore, Satoransky, and this guy is another one to watch because generally speaking, crappy players are crappy players even when they're in good matchups. And a 7.3 is telling me maybe, maybe not. I can also scroll over here with those high value guys and do what I've been doing lately, which is look at the ultra consistent guys and see who has the big ceilings. There's Fournier again. I fell for it last night. Might be a good night to go back to the well. Because these numbers don't lie. This number doesn't lie. At that salary point, he's hitting 53% of the time 5x value. I don't know if he hit 5x last night or not. I know he didn't hit 6x, but 40% of the time he also hits 6x. That's big. You need those nights. You get a 6x night out of Fournier, you did okay. You got 30-something points. And out of him, he's not a drop score candidate anymore, and he's probably helping your team in a lot of areas. So, again, manage the matchup. You know, I'll scroll back over one more time and look at the and one for him just to make sure that, nope, 4.6. Now, see, tonight will be the night he goes off. Last night, he was like a 13 or something great, and now he's a 4.6 telling me he's on back-to-back nights. He's not in a great spot. He would be a GPP play. I don't think, now that I think back about the fundamentals and what I would look for in getting excited about a player, he's not all that excitable tonight, other than the fact that he hits 6x 40% of the time. Is this one of those times? I mean, the numbers would probably say no. The situation would probably say no. But maybe. I mean, he didn't do well last night. Bounce backs are real. All right, so that was basically NBA, the and one system for today. A little bit of consistency and ceiling watch. You can see these numbers again. Come inside DFSArmy.com. Get access to this yourself. Let's dive into box checkers. If we have time, we'll dive into that tip that I was going to show you. We're looking at the entire slate, Thursday through Monday. I'm just going to sort these guys out for you. I'm going to go with the rocket arm as the catch-all. It's like the and one rating for quarterbacks because all the NBA players score the same way. There's one catch-all metric for everybody, which is great. But in football, we have to kind of position it out, running back, wide receiver, tight end, etc. Remember in quarterbacks, we're looking for, you're going to have to go to ESPN.com and look up total QBR. Less than 0. We want favorites. We want them at home. We want high implied team totals. And this is just where we start with our research. We break the mold. Some days we do break these boxes. If you check every single box, you're in a great spot. If you check, say, 3 boxes and it's these 3 boxes, and somebody else checks 3 boxes and it's those 3 boxes, then you have to make the judgment call for the tiebreakers in the middle. But if somebody checks 4 or 5 boxes, you might key in on them over the guy checking 3 boxes. If the only box is that he's on the road, you might consider him. Doesn't mean we never take a road quarterback. I mean, look, Drew Brees is in Tampa Bay. We're going to be considering that. So I'm looking at the high team totals over 24. I'm looking at the big spreads. Maybe not too big because I would rather a shootout than a big dominating performance where we're going to lean on the running back. Like Phillip Rivers here might lean on Melvin Gordon if he comes back. as opposed to pressing envelope yourself. Now, if he doesn't have Gordon, we saw Eckler and whatever the other young guy, the rookie guy is, kind of split work, and we saw they couldn't neither one of them really handle the load like Melvin Gordon can, not true feature backs. So in that case, Phillip Rivers might be called on to throw a little bit more. So you might watch that news. We know Cincinnati's a train wreck in terms of defense this year. Mahomes with a low rating because he's facing Baltimore. Good GPP play at 9,300. He can still score 30, 35 points, win you a GPP. He can also falter. Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, let's see, projected points, where am I? These are just guys that are on the list, okay? So Mahomes at home, on the list, but very sketchy. You know, yes, he's favored. Yes, he's scheduled to score over 24 points, but he's facing a bad defense. That's a big factor. You know? So that's something he checks a lot of boxes, but because of his price especially and his matchup, we might come off of him and maybe put him down 3rd, 4th, 5th on the list as opposed to right up at the top where he usually is. That means that but we know he can go off, so that makes him a stronger GPP play like I was mentioning. Phillip Rivers maybe with the Gordon news. Deshaun Watson maybe. Aaron Rodgers, don't know. How's he going to respond to the firing? I don't know. There's no box to check for that. You know, maybe he responds great, maybe not. I know he hasn't won the week very often this year. In fact, Josh Allen in Buffalo, or whoever the Buffalo guy is, has been the QB1 more weeks than a lot of these guys, or the same as a lot of these guys. I saw that stat out on Twitter. It blew my mind. I hope I retweeted it for you. On the road, at home. Russell Wilson's been turning it up lately, but a low rocket arm rating. I would say it doesn't look like a really clear week. There's a few guys that you can consider fairly highly, but it doesn't look like anybody's really standing out as like lead dog. So there's a few options you can play with today, this week. I would Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers are in great spots in terms of defenses giving up fantasy points. I don't trust Ben going way out west. I don't trust Ben away from home. Deshaun Watson, no, that's not him. That's Aaron Rodgers in a smash spot. Maybe they do something. There's a big question mark on how he's going to handle that coaching change. So I think I'd call it more of a GPP play. But their indicators are there. Those are good indicators. Is he at home? Yes. I mean, those are very good indicators. That in a normal and Aaron Rodgers isn't going to get much cheaper at $8,000. He's definitely in the GPP play category. And I'm going to dig into that one this week. Definitely going to dig into that one. Vegas lines again when this loads up. We'll go favorites again for running backs. And I want to see bigger totals. I really want bigger spreads in this case. So what I might do in this case, I'll either sort by truck stick or I'll sort by spread. If I sort by spread, it probably needs to be ascending instead of descending. Watch it bring all the pick'ems to the top. Yep. My algebra failed me there with looking at negative numbers. All right, so we've got our big running back dependent point spreads here up top. There's Melvin Gordon for you. I wish I could filter off just the running back ones, but James Conner, questionable. I've heard a little bit about Jalen Samuels this week. You might dig into that one because that's a cheap price. Not a very good truck stick rating, but a cheap price for a guy who, if he is going to get a decent amount of run, a decent amount of workload, you might look into him. Kamara, Sony Michel, James White. These two have a floor. Our spread is pretty big at 8 points, but generally speaking, when Sony Michel's getting all of the run in the running back position, James White's still coming in, splitting out wide a few times and getting some targets. He's got a decent floor for a frickin' Belichick offense. Ingram, Burkhead, doubt it. Ware, yuck. I mean, they didn't like last week, did they? Damian Williams is still not very good. Baltimore's tough against the run. I would imagine looking at this, I would cross-check my numbers, run over here to fantasy points allowed. Look at Baltimore, tops against the run. So there's your reason why. Kareem Hunt would be a GPP type of play. Spencer Ware didn't show me anything last week in a great spot to make me think that he can beat the matchup. So that would be like the flyer of all flyers. Aaron Jones, good truck stick rating. Again, at home. Again, decent spread. You know, that might be the play. Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers, go double Aarons, double Aarons. That might be your list. You know, you can scroll down here and dig a little deeper if you want to, but I tend to stay to the guys at the top. Wide receiver matchups, I literally just search by sticky hands here, and then I look at the other factors. I look at things, you know, are they favored, are they behind, are they home, are they road, or are their implied team total super low, telling me garbage time is pending, things like that. But I'm generally looking at, you know, good guys. I'm looking for cheap ones. Godwin. Humphreys, where's Humphreys? Humphreys is another one. 6,500. His price is climbing because he's gaining a lot of red. He's like the little slot guy. He's like the little Cooper Kupp. You know, that's probably a pretty good comparison for the way he's been playing the past 3 or 4 weeks. Sharp guys like me picked him up in our season-long leagues and are rolling him right into the playoffs. So, not just a pretty face, ladies and gentlemen. I've also got a fat ass. Looking down this list, though, these are generally your playables. You're looking for some value here because you're going to need to punt one. You know, you're going to need. It's about time for a Cole Beasley week. I hate to say it, but it's about time for the guy. The guy, when he scores a touchdown, he scores a second one. I'm not calling him out this week. I don't have those kind of stones. I said I got a fat ass, not big balls. So I'm not really interested in him, but I'm ready to have it just come out of nowhere and surprise me. And he's just one of those guys that just kind of does that a couple of times a year. It's really, really weird. But these are the guys that I would generally be sticking to. I would maybe look over here at team total for really, really low totals. Don't see any really, really low ones. I do see some underdogs that are kind of maybe indicating garbage time, something like that. The home team might just try to ice it. So your road team, like, don't know that Michael Thomas is necessarily going to get. He's going to get more attention than he should shred that defense. I don't know that Tampa Bay is going to blow them out so that New Orleans is playing catch up either. Actually, they're favored. Pay attention, Chip. Rams on the road, not a dog, of course. Atlanta on the road, there's your big dog. So Julio Jones, don't know that they'd be giving him garbage time, but they might. The Giants, not really big underdogs. So there's really nothing popping here in terms of predicting garbage time for a wide receiver. And if you wonder why I do that instead of quarterbacks, receivers gain more points in garbage time faster, whereas the quarterback gets 1 point for every 25 yards and maybe 4 points for a soft touchdown. If he throws for 100 yards in garbage time, he only gets 4 points for you. That's not doing a lot for you. Whereas if the receiver, the wide receiver 1 or the 2, gets the garbage time run, he goes for, say, 60 yards on 4 receptions that were soft. He gets on Fanduel, he gets 2 points for the 4 receptions. He gets 4 on DraftKings, and he gets 6 points for the touch. So for the yardage. So he's sitting at what, 2 and 6 is 8, or 4 and 6 is 10. He got you 4 to 2, where the quarterback only got you 4 points. They get you 6 to 8 to 10 points in garbage time when it works out that way. So it's much easier to predict or put that as a bigger influence in your decision on a wide receiver than it is a quarterback when you're going for garbage time. Tight end matchups, let's see if anybody pops there. Sticky hands is the rating that we use like wide receivers again. But again, we can go back to home teams with big spreads. Let's just sort by ascending and bring those big spreads instead of filtering them out. Let's just do that. And we'll go down here, somewhere down in here, 27, 28, 26, whatever. Most of these guys are going to be the ones we're looking for. We're going back more towards the quarterbacks in that we're looking for, of course, red zone work and things like that. But we're looking for home teams favored, implied to score a lot of points. That's where your tight ends are historically more successful. Antonio Gates, don't trust him. Virgil Green, don't trust him either. But Vance McDonald, Jesse James, want to take a shot on him. They're cheap, fine. Gronk, if he's healthy, is always in play, but he needs to be healthy. Darnold, Josh Hill, Kelsey again, not so sure. Baltimore, if they have a weak spot in their defense, it probably is against tight ends because, after all, that's where most secondaries go weak, when they're good passing defenses and then good running defenses. Although when they're a good overall running defense, tells me the linebackers are pretty strong. Linebackers typically, if they're good, can guard tight ends. So I don't know. You might dig a little bit deeper into that. What we'll do is we'll probably come back Friday, and I'll probably show you this wide receiver cornerback breakdown. It's kind of fun for a couple of minutes. Doesn't look like a lot of guys are really popping here either. That sort of stinks. We'll have to dig into those a little bit further. This is just a first look, though, again. And remember what defense is? We're looking for big underdogs with low implied totals. Those are the guys. So if I sort by descending this time, bring the underdogs to the top, I'm looking for really, really low totals, and I'm going to take the opponent. Okay, so 17, Chargers, definitely in play. 20 and 19, Pittsburgh, New England, definitely in play. 16.5, Tennessee, definitely in play. 17.8, Buffalo against the Jets, definitely in play. These are your defenses. Pick the cheapest one, roll them out. Okay, it's not that difficult. Grab a list of 4 or 5 of them that are opponents, are big underdogs, and are scheduled to score under 20 points, preferably under 18 points. Write 4 or 5 of those names down, pick a cheaper one, roll them out. It's going to work for you quite often, and it's easy research. Okay, so that's the research station. That's your box checkers. That's your NBA N1. That's your NHL. We'll dive into a quick tip here. What I want to tell you about getting your mind right is very, very simple. I just saw a couple of comments in our NBA rooms about, hey, I had the optimizer today. Why didn't it win last night? Listen, dude, get your mind right. Nothing's foolproof. If you come in here expecting to win every single night, you're dumb. You're fooling yourself. Doesn't exist. Okay? I told you yesterday or the day before in a poker scenario where I'm going to get a lot of great cards. I'm going to get pocket aces. Is it going to win every time? No. Because if it won every time, there'd be no fish left. I don't care what optimizer you're using, what projections you're using. I don't care what method you're using to select your player pool. Is it going to work every day? No. Why not? It's not going to work for you more times than that. Sorry, my TV kicked on here. But why is it not going to work for you? Because it's not a foolproof game. It's not a foolproof industry. We're banking on human elements. We're banking on a guy who has a ball right between the numbers and he freaking drops it in the end zone. You can't control that. No numbers can ever predict that. When that shit happens to you, life sucks. It just does. There's no way. I read a thread last night on poker about a guy saying, I go to the boat and I want to be able to win 8 out of 10 times I go to the casino and play poker. And I want to be able to know when I play a hand like Queen 8 and the 8 flops and the 8 is good. There's no way to know that, you dumbass. There's no way to win 8 out of 10 sessions unless you're playing with grandma's kids. And if you're playing with grandma's kids for M&Ms, you still won't win 8 out of 10 times you sit down with them. Look, I can be the best DFS player or the best fantasy football player in my church league group of guy friends. Believe me, I've read more. Believe me, I know more about the fundamentals of fantasy football than these guys. Doesn't mean I'm better than them, so I want to disclaim that right away because some of these guys are highly intelligent dudes. But it means that I'm no fish. I have an edge in that game. I'm going to make the playoffs more often than the next guy. I'm going to win the league if we did it 100 times, more times than the next guy. But I'm not going to win it every time. And I'm not going to win it 80% of the time. Let's get our mind right. It is documented on DraftKings.com. Go look at it. 80% of you lose. 80% of you. A large part of that is because of the rake that these houses take off the games and take out of our pockets. That takes what is a marginally profitable player and turns him into a loser. But it's also because there are so many people out there playing and studying and trying to get better that if you're not doing that, if you're just pushing a button and expecting to win, you're fooling yourself. You have got to dig into the research. You've got to dig into the numbers. You've got to use somebody like me and learn a little bit about how to play fundamentally sound, how to allocate your contests, how to line up so your winning nights pay max dollars, not the milli maker, but pay max dollars. And your losing nights hedge your losses and get you something back. You need to learn how to constantly be in position to lose less and win more. There's a way to do that. You need to constantly be in position to be playing the teams and the players that are in the best positions that are most likely to have a good night so that you're in position to win more often. That gives you the best shot at beating those 80% of people that lose. And our community gives you that chance. But you got to get your mind right. You can't come in here expecting to win every night just because you signed up and saw winning screenshots on Twitter and happened to talk to a guy who lies through his freaking teeth as a lineup seller and says, we win 80%. Bullshit you do. Bullshit you do. Don't even pull that crap over on me. I didn't fall off the truck yesterday. I've been in this industry a long time. I've seen the ups, I've seen the downs. I've had some ups, I've had some downs. I can coach you. I can keep your mind right. It's one of my specialties. I'm a very positive, silver lining, half full kind of guy that loves to have a lot of fun and loves to joke and poke fun at things, but I'm also not afraid to look you dead in the eyes and call you a loser. If your thinking is stinking, then you need to fix that, and you need my help. And you need to, if you have unrealistic expectations, you've got better chances at going and hitting on that big boob blonde across the bar that is way out of your freaking league than you do at becoming a DFS professional. You have to get your mind right first. You have to be disciplined, fundamentally sound. If not, you're destined to be one of those 80%. I'm interested in finding people that want to be in the 20% and turning them into the 20%. And for those of you that are in that 20%, congrats. And those of you that I have helped get there, double congrats. And for those of you in the 20% that want to get in the top 10, top 5, top 1% of elite in the world, I've got the experts inside the Army that can take you to the next level. But you can't do it if you're not a member, so you got to get in here and you got to become a member. DFSArmy.com, down there in the comments section. Like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the notification bell. Give me a little bit of feedback. Tell me if you like the video. It's a trifecta today. We're going on 40 minutes. I'm trying not to make these too terribly long, but there's no way in hell I'm ever going to make them 15 minutes. I'm trying to keep them around a half hour a day. Hopefully that way you guys get what you need. You get enough. You can see, you can learn, you can process. But give me that reward. Follow that link. Use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Help keep the content flowing. Head out to Twitter. Retweet my January sweeps contest. We've already got 13 retweets in 24 hours. That's not much, man. I'm not Adam Levitan. I'm not, I'm not President Trump or somebody that has the leverage, but I'm trying to build for that. Not necessarily that big, but I'm trying to improve and get better, just like I am in DFS, just like anywhere else, because I love bringing content to you. I love bringing content to you. The more you help me, the more people I reach. The more people I reach, the more, honestly, the more I gain financially, the more it funds the process. If you notice, I'm a giver. I give of myself freely inside our coaching channels. I also give back when I'm in a successful process. I believe very much in giving more than you take in this industry. If you're like me, you need to join me. DFSArmy.com, use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. Jump out to the pinned tweet, help me retweet that bad boy. Let's get in here, let's start winning. DFS, NFL is just kicking off this week. NBA rolls every day, NHL rolls every day. You've seen the sports that I cover, NASCAR, MMA, PGA, that stuff's all in there too. Get in here and become a better player soon. Thanks, guys. It's been Chop-a-Dong, it's been Chop Talk. We'll see you tomorrow with more NBA and more NHL talk. We'll come back Friday probably with a little bit more NFL talk. And we'll see you when we see you.